Cleaning a carburetor. Cleaning a carburetor it can be easy and also can be difficult. Carburetors have been around since the first gas engine has been made. They are essential to provide the fuel and air mixture to make a gas engine run. There's also many other factors that are essential to make a gas engine run, but a carburetor is one of the most important. Making sure your carburetor is cleaned and tuned properly is also very essential to your engine running. It can cause, if your carburetor is not cleaned or adjusted properly, your engine can misfire or not even start at all. So there's three main steps to cleaning a carburetor. The first one is disassembly and inspection, and then clean and repair, and then reassembly, which I'm going to go with you today. So the first step is disassembly. As you can see here, I have all the parts already disassembled beforehand. Sometimes, depending on what model of engine these come off of, these can be rusty or even some parts broken. So that should be your first step with disassembly. Is just inspect it generally when it's on the engine, see how to take it off. Usually they're pretty easy with just a couple of cotter keys. But so here we have your bowl of the carburetor. They come in many different shapes and sizes. Some can be like just a regular aluminum bowl, or they can be kind of complex like this. Next, you have the main part of your carburetor, the body. This is a little bit different as it has the float, needle, and seat on this part. Usually they are associated with the bowl. And then we have our gaskets, and then we have just fasteners or hardware that hold the carburetor together and also to the engine. So the first step is disassembly. Always a good way to do it is take it apart in order. So when you take it apart, kind of like this, have it the same steps in the same area as you took it apart as going back together. So when you put it back together, you can just take the pieces and kind of put them all back together as one, and you're not have parts scattered everywhere, and it makes it way more difficult to put back together. So also when you're disassembling it, check the vital components such as the throttle linkage here, make sure that's free, and then choke linkage as well. And then also check your fasteners, as the fasteners can get sometimes missing teeth or also get rounded off. And then check your gaskets too as well, as mainly they need to get replaced. So after you get all this assembled, you're going to want to start cleaning. And then this can be the most important part, because if you don't clean the right thing, it will make your engine not run or misfire. And when you have it all back together and you haven't cleaned the right thing, and you just got to take it all back apart again, it's just a big headache. So here we have the venturi. This is usually the most important area to clean, as this is where your fuel and air mixture go into the engine. And if that's dirty, then your engine won't run. So this is the first thing to clean right here. Next, you have all these other little ports around the carburetor, like this one right here. You want to make sure those are clean, because they're very, very tight clearances, and if those get muck or gum in them, they won't run properly. And then you have your needle and seat here too, which has to be cleaned. Most times when you're cleaning carburetors, they come with a carb kit. So it has your gaskets, new needle and seat, and then sometimes a little rod for your float to ride on. So generally, if you have those parts and if they don't need to be replaced, you should still replace them anyways, because you have the new parts, and why not? It's not going to hurt anything to have new parts in it. So then after you get it all cleaned, then you're going to want to repair pieces if needed. So if your venturi is broken, this is just screwed in with looks like an 8mm socket. So you just unscrew it and screw the new one in. And then your float here can also be damaged. Usually this will get little pinholes in it, because this one right here is made out of copper. So like this one's all oxidized, which generally they do, especially if it's been in an engine that's been sitting for a long time. They'll get all oxidized and all gummed up and really bad. So the way to test these is just take the rod out and then just fill up a cup or bowl with water, and then put your float in there. If it floats in the water, then you're good. If it doesn't float and it sinks to the bottom, it needs to get replaced. So then after all the pieces are repaired, then you want to start putting it back together. So like I said before, have it laid out how you took it apart, so when you put it back together, it's way easier. So then also you want to be careful too, is sometimes this needle and seat can fall out. So when you put it back together, just make sure that that doesn't fall out, because if that falls out and you get it all back together, your engine won't run. So when you have it all back together, make sure your fasteners are in the right area. Sometimes it's a good idea to mark them, and then mark the fastener, and then mark the hole where it came out of, because sometimes the fastener is going to be different length, and you don't want to put a too big of a fastener in a small enough hole, as it will cause the fastener to break, or sometimes get stuck in the casting. So then also you want to make sure you have the correct gaskets where they go. This generally, you can take pictures of where the gasket was when you had it apart, so you know where the new one goes, and you scrape the old one off. These are essential too, because if you don't have the gasket in there, the gasoline over time will kind of slowly seep out of the carburetor and it'll leak, and sometimes that can cause issues, but it's also just kind of a headache because gas isn't cheap and all that gas is going everywhere. So then also I don't have them with me, but sometimes they come with intake gaskets, and you want to make sure these are on the right area too, because if you don't, like for example, on the air cleaner where the air comes into the carburetor, if you don't have the intake gasket there, then you'll provide too much air and air will seep in the carburetor, causing your engine to run very lean. So yeah, that's how to clean a carburetor, and the 3 basic steps, which are again is disassembly and inspection, repair and clean, and then reassembly. So hopefully now if you have an engine that doesn't run very good or misfires or just doesn't start at all, now you know how to make it run. Here's my audience.